Hello YouTube! Today we are going over Caustic and Tensions. This originally was going to be a green monster reflux build, but after some testing I've found that the reflux still isn't really doing as much on Moze as what I would like, so until some more buffs are coming out, I'm going to put that part of the build off. So after I did that testing, I really just fell back in love with the flipper and decided to update the flipper build using the green monster. So that's what this is going to be, is the idea of using the flipper with never having to reload the flipper. You can take advantage of the green monster's bonus corrosive damage quite well. So the big part of this build is going to be the green monster. I wanted to add in splash damage, weapon damage, and magazine size specifically for this. The two biggest ones there are going to be weapon damage and magazine size. So our flippers, I wanted to take advantage of radiation and corrosive. We do have one with shock and fire. You'll see in the montage that I did use the fire on the Psycho Reaver, and the shock is used to take down shields for Valkyrie and Wotan. Overall, we are typically sticking to radiation for the kill stack, which is killing an enemy grants 13% bonus weapon damage, and it does add reload speed, which we don't really care about on this build. Or I was using consecutive hits, and I typically use the corrosive side of the consecutive hits flipper. Threw an EMP5 on here just for some extra movement speed, and the corrosive old god so that we can have a little bit bonus corrosive damage. And the anoint there, I didn't really find one that specifically was very helpful, so I just went with action skill and corrosive, so that whenever a cub goes down, we just have some bonus corrosive. Now if you like doing the old school way of hopping in Iron Bear and hopping right back out of Iron Bear, that probably would be a little bit better. If you do that, I would advise changing up the skill tree just a little bit to add a little bit more action skill cooldown into the skill tree. A level 1 CMT is going to be there for 1, proccing for health regeneration, and 2, to take advantage of the on grenade thrown anoint, which gives us just extra action skill damage, weapon damage, and grenade damage by 25%. And of course, you can change out the relic here for if you need some extra damage as far as consecutive hits go. The Pearl is still a great bonus with consecutive hits, so if you prefer doing the consecutive hits over the kill stack, I would advise changing that Malawan Company Man out to the Pearl, just because having that combination of consecutive hits and the Pearl is still really good. The Company Man will outdamage it in some cases, and the Pearl will do better in others. However, overall, if you prefer doing just consecutive hits, I would advise using the Pearl with the consecutive hits. Another great move here is Flesh Melter. I prefer the Victory Rush just because of that extra movement speed and damage whenever you kill a badass. And I do prefer running Flesh Melters with extra corrosive damage as well, just so that you can really just pound home the corrosive damage. For this overall, after a bunch of different testing, I just found that the Malawan Company Man gave me the most consistent results. I did want to make sure that I had area of effect damage on there, and the other two rules aren't super important because the Malawan, or not the Malawan, but the Company Mans overall do not roll primary passives. So you can't get your weapon damage or your pistol damage or anything like that. If they got primary, I would have gone for SMG damage. But I had one that happened to have shock and corrosive damage on there, and that was good enough for me, so that's what I went with. Alright, let's get into the skill tree. So we got 3 out of 5 in Selfless Vengeance, and that's going to be for increased incendiary damage. We do pick up Security Bearers so that we have extra max health and shields for Iron Cub. Pick up 5 out of 5 in Armored Infantry for the gun damage and the damage reduction. 5 in Drowning in the Brass so that we have extra gun damage. And we do, of course, pick up Experimental Munitions for the increase in incendiary damage. As always with my Cub builds, I do like to run Capacitive Armature because Cub can do some pretty silly things with Cap's Arm. In Green Tree, we take 5 out of 5 in Cloud of Lead, so that we have the chance of having some extra incendiary damage. We pick up 1 in Match Set, and because we are running a bunch of flippers, we do get a little bit extra there because of having the same gear type, or the same manufacturer. 3 in Stoke the Embers for the extra incendiary damage. 1 in Redistribution so that we have a little bit extra ammo regeneration. 1 in Scrappy so that we have a little bit more weapon damage. And we have a little bit faster on our mode switch since we are using a flipper. 5 in Scorching RPMs for the increased fire rate and critical hit damage. 5 in Iron Bank for the increase in our magazine size. 3 in Click Click for the increase in gun damage. 1 in Some for the Road. 1 in Forge so that we are constantly regenerating ammo, so whenever we're not getting our critical hits or fire damage or anything like that, when we're just running to the next mobbing or boss area, we just are continually getting ammo back while we've got those downtimes. We do pick up 3 out of 3 in Big Surplus so that when Cup is down, we deal increased incendiary damage. 5 in Fire in the Skag's Den for the increase in both splash and incendiary damage. And we picked up 5 out of 5 in Grizzled so that whenever we're killing something, we do get Cub back faster. 3 in Means of Destruction for the increase in splash damage and the ammo chance. 5 out of 5 in Torg Cross Promotion for the increase in splash damage and splash damage radius. 2 in Vampire. Typically I don't usually go more than 1 in Vampire, but I did have 1 extra skill point at the end that I was trying to decide where exactly I wanted to go to. And we put it in Vampire so that we have just a little bit more health restoration whenever we're using our CMTs. 5 in Explosive Punctuation for the extra splash damage and cooldown rate. And of course, since we are using guns here, we do pick up Short Fuse. And guys, as always in my builds, I like to point out that I do have all of the Guardian rank perks. So if you don't have things like Groundbreaker or Hollow Point, you will see a decrease in damage, because whenever those go off, they do some pretty crazy damage. I hope you enjoyed the build. There will be a link to the Discord down below where this will be posted for those people on PC who would like to get their hands on this. And with that, guys, I've been your local sassy SwinLaw. Stay classy, Pandora.